Hey guys, welcome back to 1-2 Juice. Today we've got a very special guest with us today. We have our Malaysian National Champion, Nitya! Welcome, Nitya. You're our first guest on the channel.
Thank you.
That's crazy.
Exciting.
Let's talk about the events just a week ago. What happened? What happened?
It was insane. I feel like in that moment, like Mark and I were just thinking to ourselves, because like after that we were talking to each other. We were like, "I'm okay if you win. I'm okay if you win." It was so touching. Like we were like just like, "Oh my god."
It was pretty
yeah,
crazy.
and
Well,
then
the inside is like
Yeah.
you're going down.
in the moment after I CNC pummels, like you're going down, bro. Double
Yeah.
reckless swing. Let's go.
I saw the blood in your eyes.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
sure.
The real blood rush, man. We have an amazing video coming up for you guys today. So if you guys are brute connoisseurs like Nitya herself, we have a deck tech video talking about what actually was brought into the nationals. As you guys may have heard from DM Amada, Malaysia's meta is pretty wide. We actually don't have a standard meta like some other countries have. I guess also because we have a very wide variety of players, yourself included. So Sophia and I are going to try our best to walk you guys through with Nitya how exactly she smacked her way to the top. And also just kind of like helpful hints on how you want to be running your deck as lean or as thick as possible. Sideboard, you know the drill. So Nitya, without further ado, let's quickly just ask you, why Rhinar?
Why Rhinar? It was the first hero I tried for CC, and I really like the intimidate mechanic. I love the dice rolling. Let's be real.
Whoa.
The gambler.
We have a gambler in our
It's
presence.
like frustrating both ways. It's like if I roll a 4, you're angry. If I roll a 1, I'm angry.
So it's fair play.
It's fair. You know, the anger gets shared around, right? And you're thinking to yourself,
well,
broken.
until you keep rolling sixes, then
Then yes, correct. Or you know, if you're like Hua and he breaks my scabs on turn 2, then I'm like,
let's not talk about that.
That's painful, but you smacked him hard. So you did start by playing Rhinar from day one.
no, technically from day 1 for the Learn to Play event. If you guys, I actually learned Katsu first.
Oh.
And I actually hated it. So I'm sorry, Katsu fans out there.
Mingan loves
Let's
Katsu.
shake on that.
Mingan hates Katsu? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you hate Katsu as well?
Well, I won't say hate. Hate's a strong word. We strongly dislike.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Can I temper it down? I strongly dislike
okay.
Katsu.
And then you're like,
But then they gave us like a couple of decks, and they were saying like Livia's the hardest to learn out of all these decks, and I was like, okay, I want to learn. So I picked up Livia at the Learn to Play event. Then after that, there's another brute hero. I was like, oh, which one? Rhinar. Oh, so okay, I will learn that, and that's how I started picking up
that's
Rhinar.
crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man, Livia at home just crying.
She might come back. We don't know.
Yeah.
What did you feel? I think leading up to nationals, we had a couple of events. We had The Calling, Singapore, which you were also there. Day 2, guys.
Yes.
Nick Butcher remembers. He remembers,
I'm
man.
surprised he remembers. Yeah.
How was that? Like, because I feel like we should say that prior to this, you've actually never played a competitive or trading card game ever.
Yeah, Flesh and Blood is my first trading card game ever.
And under a year, you bring home national champion title. That's a whack. What were your thoughts going into such a interesting meta? Because Prism has just exited stage, right? But like, what were your thoughts looking at the decks that were bubbling up in Malaysia and around the region?
So, like, I think a lot of chatter before coming up to Nats was Rune Blades. I think the main thing. So, a lot of my deck teching was preparing for Rune Blades. And there was also a lot of chatter about Oldhim and Bravo. As well as, I think Fi was on the side there while people were still figuring out whether to go Emberblade Fi or Kodachi Fi. So, how I prepared was like preparing for those heroes. To be honest, like Rhinar doesn't do so great into Rune Blades. It's kind of like our worst matchup. So that's like the matchup I was stressing out about.
You got a Rune here, you got a Rune Blade here. It's crazy.
Yeah, I hear you have a Briar deck as well. Side-eyeing you here. Those were the decks that I prepared for, and like trying to like, okay, like what are my best options into Rune Blades? So that's generally how I deck tech for it.
So let's talk about your deck. There were some spicy things we saw.
Oh man.
We'll talk about the finals when we get there. But maybe just run us through like your thought process on building your deck, starting from scratch, and then how did you fine tune it to like the style that you play, the way you play it?
I started out with the Teklo Foundries list. Shout out, man. He has a good, solid base I think he did a video on it 6 months ago. So that was the base for my video, for my deck tech. I just sort of started out with his list. Then I tweaked according to our local meta and what worked well for me, and also kind of like restricted to what cards I do and don't have.
Yeah.
So for example, like I'm running only 2 copies of Command and Conquer and Beast Within. Personal choice, I know it made for a very exciting finals, but I actually don't like Beast Within because I have been
conspiracy.
Yeah, I know. Shocking, right? But like I've been hurt so much by this card that I would rather keep it at 2 copies. It's a personal preference kind of thing. Command and Conquer, I think you guys know, like this card can be quite hard to find previously before I think the history packs came out. So, but I find that 2 is okay because like with Crown of Providence and the other cards that I want to add, and because Rhinar, the way you need to deck tech for it, because our sideboard is really, really tight. There are things that you need to sacrifice and cut, especially because I'm running both weapons. I'm running the club and the claw. So you want to maximize each weapon, but at the same time you can't like maximize claws without like killing your club plan. So it really is essential to like think about how I want to power up my claw turns and how I want to power up my club turns.
That's crazy.
So that's how I deck tech for it, like and balancing both.
I guess one thing to note in Malaysia as well, like the Lexis had, there were a lot of Lexis, one here included, at a brief moment of time. But I think this season, even some of our best Lexi players weren't on Lexi. There were only, I think, 2 in the end. So CNC maybe didn't, it didn't feel that much of a threat. Also because Crown of Providence is the answer.
Crown of Providence.
Block, and I got 5 card hand now.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think a lot of decks saw CNC as, maybe we take that out. But so is CNC actually also a part of the core deck?
Yeah, CNC is still part of the core deck because it's still a 6 and it still blocks for 3. So like Rhinar, it's very important that we look at 6 attacks, right? Because if you look at the hero ability, you intimidate every time you discard a 6.
Straight up.
So our 6 counts are very important.
Yep.
I don't recall for my main board, but at max, I only have 36 6s. And this number is very, very crucial because like even when I'm thinking through my matchups, for example, Dromai, I keep track. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you know this, but like in the semi-finals against Dirk's Dromai, I was like counting. Oh crap, we're running out of 6s. So it's very crucial to keep the 6 counts up. I want to give a big shout out to like the best card Brute ever got from Everfest. Swing big,
man.
MVP, like best
even though
card.
it also blocks for 3.
Yes, it also blocks for 3.
This card is sick.
Yeah.
Get it out.
Get it out.
I'm sorry, I'm kidding.
Don't you guys want to quicken? You full block it.
No,
I know. You Rain Blades don't need it.
I think the only time I feel like I would need to block out a swing big is if you're barraging before that. Then I'm like, I'm incentivized to block. Otherwise, it's a bad time for everybody. Okay, I guess maybe we should start with the equipment. Real quick before we go into the rest of the deck. So the standard, there's the tunic, you got your scab skins, and then the gambler's glove and null rune.
Yes, null rune gloves specifically for you rune blades.
Yes,
and wizards of course. Yes.
But the so you also run Skullhorn.
Yes.
Also just for the AB, right?
Yes, it's specifically only for the wizards. I do sometimes break it if I want to go for the max intimidate. Like I'm going for the kill, I'm intimidating Skullhorn one more time just to make sure I have a full intimidate. And then I go for the kill. Yeah.
Sounds like trauma.
Only done it once. But yeah, it was fun.
This one feels like, because everyone's using it, it feels correct to use it. Providence is such a great card, but with such an aggressive matchup, did your deck think that maybe I was going to mid-range a little bit, that Skullcap was a consideration?
The thing is, again, because like my deck is really, really tight, and I just feel like Skullcap is not as relevant because generally, if I'm going all out on my aggro plan, I'm going to be ahead of you on life anyway. And you 5 players, ninjas, you rune blades aren't going to be blocking. Generally, I will be at somewhat of a higher life than you guys. But even on a mid-range, probably like the one I would get the most value out of is Guardians. But that's why I bring Skull Crushers instead, so that I have an additional
extra,
1 block to replace it. So I feel like I wasn't really losing out taking out Skull Cap.
Okay, I like that.
tunic is like really important. Every 3 turns, if I'm on club, I am threatening a pummel.
Yeah.
If I'm on claws, I am threatening a 5-5 and a swing big for 10 or a pack hunt
That's
for 8.
disgusting. That is.
We need our nice things. We
Oh
need
my
our
goodness.
nice things.
I need to say, like, there were so many times where you would play the club in your finals, right? If people watch that, there were a lot of times where you play the club and then like there's one float tunic and then Arsenal, everyone's like, is it coming? Is it coming? Even Mark was like, like the fear is real.
They're holding on to their pants.
Exactly.
With everyone else, when tuning his tree, it's just like, oh, it's going to be a big turn. But with the Brute, it's like, what?
So what did we learn? Don't forget your tuning.
Caleb forgot his tuning a couple of times, but it's alright.
Yeah, and the one more equipment is scab skin leathers. Wow, this is like the best equipment hands down because it saved me in 3 out of like my matches in nationals. Roll, triggering skull crushes if I had them, and like +1 to all my attacks. Boom.
I remember in the earlier days when we were playing, I remember you were quite trigger heavy with the scab skins. Like just like just roll and hit a 1.
I don't think any change. It's the same.
No, but I think it's different now. Like it's very calculated now.
Yes, correct.
Earlier on was just like,
I didn't go to Genting today, so I'm gonna make my own.
Zeno's here.
It's all about calculated risks. I think it's very important for Rhinar players out there. If you want to do it, like normally the main advice is you're doing it when you're behind, but it's really crucial to think about that point in time, like how much, like what's in your hand, and is it worth taking that risk or not? So for example, on club, because you don't have go against like you do have for claws, you want an extra action point because I can go Blood Rush Bellow into club for 7, and then I can go for a swing big for 10. And
disgusting.
These are the kind of things you need to consider. It's not just rolling every turn, even if it's fun or traumatizing.
That's usually the case. Usually the case.
Yes.
Oh, let's talk about Beast Within, right? Because you mentioned it's not your favorite. It's still. Are there any Rhinas who don't run Beast Within?
I think it's like a
no,
must,
actually,
right?
most Rhina decks run 3. So actually, I do lurk on the Brute Discord, and they were like, she runs 2 Beast Within.
Yeah. So for everyone who doesn't know, Beast Within is one of the big cards for the Brute package, right? If it's discarded into the graveyard.
Yes. Outside the combat chain, then you will banish the top of your card. If it is a non-attack, you will lose 1 life and keep banishing until you find a 6, and it goes into your hand. Yeah.
So that's what happened in the finals because she discarded it from the Reckless Swing because it's a prerequisite you have to discard, and then after that she flipped 2, both were barraging beatdowns, and then the third one was a swing big. She took 2 life when she was on 3, bring her down to 1, which would have been lethal actually. I guess there is. I feel like now you're making other Brute players like, oh yeah.
Actually, but let's talk about that real quick because you did mention a lot of your moves now are very calculated, right?
Yes.
How much were you banking on that second or third card being a 6 attack?
Soph was saying, when we were watching again, Soph was saying like, Nitya knew. She knew that the second or third card would be if the first one wasn't.
I had a feeling, but I honestly wasn't sure because I actually did lose track of my pitch deck because I knew when the Reckless Swings were coming, but after I took the second Reckless Swing, I was like, I actually don't remember what did I pitch after that. But yeah, I know by the way I was flipping, even I looked after, wow, so confident that I can find I was like, not scared, just flip.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, now when you look back, you're like,
what a play.
All intentional. It's all intentional.
So Beast Within is definitely one of the interesting ones. So CNC is dependent, personal preference.
Yes.
The top core package of here, of course, Blood Rush is standard across both club and claws.
Correct.
So your MVP card is Swing Big. Do you try to use that together with a barraging, or is it just you're okay just playing that one off?
Generally, you try to arsenal the swing big right before you hit a blood rush bellow to maximize the fear and stress in your opponents. Yes.
Damn.
It's usually the 2 cost cards that you want to keep in your arsenal. So it's things like Pack Hunt, it's things like Swing Big. Obviously, if I run what we brutes call the cheetah package, so it's your no blocks, your pulping, and your wild ride, it's okay to arsenal those also right before your blood rush turns.
Yep.
But also, the other reason I keep Swing Big is it's because it's a 2. And thus I can pummel it. But in general, if I'm going for the max intimidates, I actually prefer Pack Hunt because barraging, and then I go into a Pack Hunt, and boom, that's 4 cards. The barraging effect definitely takes precedence.
We saw that line of play against Dekwa.
Yes.
That was an insane turn. But quickly want to check with you. With brutes. Compared to other classes, right? Like you got to think about like for example, Room Blades. You got to get a good mix of a non-attack, attack, and also pitch.
Yes.
With Brute, it's slightly different because it's not so much pitch. It's almost I need a card to discard, like a 6 attack, right?
Yes, exactly.
How is that like in terms of your blue count? Are you running a lot of blues or?
Running 18 blues is the standard now, I feel, and it should be the standard because it's enough to fuel your blood rush turns. But the thing about running so many blues is that it actually affects your 6 counts because we only have 1 blue 6. LSS, please, thank you. Dynasty, more blue 6s.
Just fine.
So when you're running like the other blues, so I run 3 pummels, 3 high rollers, 3 sand sketchmans, and 3 reckless swings. Those are all not 6s. So that's why when I play the discard plan, so it's things like barraging Bighorn, and I believe it's actually just barraging Bighorn. My other discards are on my reds. So it's crucial because like barraging Bighorn has an effect that if you don't block with 2 cards, I get go again. So these are the effects that I sort of want to care about the most when I'm thinking about discards. But if you actually look at my deck, there's not a lot of discarding going on. It's mostly controlled to things like reckless swing, discarding Beast Within. Or blood rush bellow, discarding Beast Within.
That's prime cards, man. Prime cards.
Okay. Well, that's your core package, right?
Yes.
Let's move on maybe more towards the sideboard.
Yes.
What were your considerations for the different classes and how did you sideboard against them?
So the consideration actually first comes into decision, are you playing club or are you playing claw?
Yeah.
So if you're playing club, then generally I take in what I call my club package. So it's pummels, it's my defense reactions.
Oh, it's a bit more mid-range, right?
Yes, correct. Also because there is nothing worse than drawing into defense reactions when you're playing claws. Because it's still a red and you can't do anything with them, right? So generally... so generally I play a more mid-range where if I'm playing club, it's going to be my defense reactions. And depending on whether that matchup particularly cares about fusing, your ice or your mechanologist, then I put in erase face.
Ooh, okay. So what are some of the typical decks you want to be running club and the mid-range package for?
So club would be your Phis. I don't care if you're Kodachi Phi or Ember Blade Phi. I would generally run my club package. You also run them into resource-intensive matchups. So it's your Lexis, because Lexis can be very taxing. You kind of want to throw your whole hand as much as possible and keep your life up. So that you can whack them when their cards finally break up.
Yes.
Unless you're Suchang.
Unless you're freaking... One of our Lexi players has the hands of God. Seriously? That guy.
Yes.
We'll talk about him another day.
Yes, I've heard. Suchang, you the best, man. So generally Erase Face is for those matchups, people who care about fusing. I do run them into old hymns as well because, if they're holding on to that Oken you don't want to block my Erase Face, that's fine with me.
And of course, Viscerize are...
Yes.
I feel like this card was the anti-Viscerize card.
Correct.
Super.
It hurt so bad.
It hurt so bad. Like turn before, you're like, I'm going to take it. And then Erase Face comes out. I'm holding a Moderate and Revel. I'm just like... I
love this card against Rune Blades. It is one of the few cards that I can be like, yes, I'm finally making the Rune Blade think about blocking.
So, but you use the club for Rune Blades as well?
No, I actually use claws for Rune Blades because it's very important to get you guys down low enough that you suddenly care about blocking. So claws is so crucial to just maximize damage. Wow. So for Rune Blades especially, I will run Pulpings and Wild Rights.
Okay.
Because they're important to just push damage.
Yeah.
Because generally, I don't think Rune Blades run a lot of defense reactions. I think you have Sigil
not this season.
Correct. So you probably have Sigil of Suffering, you know.
We used to run like 6, man. Now
it's like very like here and there.
Yeah.
You'll find people who maybe slot a couple in and then just some that don't.
Exactly.
I can't say I do.
my Skeletor days, I had like 9 D-Rex. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so quickly, let's just wrap up on the club one. So again, for everyone, if you're watching, you want to be running this into classes you do want to block slightly against. So, of course, the ninjas with the threatening the mass draw is a major gas move, right? So you want to be throwing out at least 1 or 2 cards per turn to block.
Correct.
Keeping it simple to swing again on the next turn. Lexis with the frostbites and all that nonsense. Lexi. Lexi is, I feel like Pummel is so great on a Lexi because if you can get them to discard at least 1 card, suddenly their turn isn't as big anymore.
Exactly. And there is nothing great than to pitch a blue, float 1, CNC, and here, I have a card.
That's pain on a different level, man.
Yeah.
Then they have to calculate which pummel do they have,
exactly.
or even if it's a pummel at all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess it's pretty straightforward for the club one. It's just blocking, finding a good hand, playing it out.
Yes. Also, why I would put Alpha Rampage and Massacres as sideboards as well, because they block for 3. They're really good because if you go into like this is your ultimate play line, like barraging beatdown into Alpha Rampage, discarding Massacre, and that's a 4-card intimidate, right? And it's amazing for pushing damage, especially in the late game when people do care about blocking.
You ain't got squad.
Exactly.
Like, some of my worst memories of playing against the Brute was like when stuff like that happens, right? Like a 4-card intimidate happens, then I'm just like, okay, I'm happy to take the damage. But then sometimes when it's like a 1-2 card intimidate, and I'm just like, okay, well, I wasn't gonna play those anyway. But the worst one is when I draw 4 non-attacks, and I'm just like, I don't want any of these. like you see me like block 2, and then the next turn on my turn, I'm just like, pass. That feels bad.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
There is one more thing I want to add on though. Is that all you got? Great card against the ninjas. Yes. That all you got is fantastic.
And Rosetta.
Rublets, yes,
Rosetta.
Because you guys want to strip me of my hand. So like the fact that I can get a card back afterwards, I think it does.
And blocking a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Delicious. Freaking delicious.
Yes.
Were there any classes that gave you a hard time figuring out your sideboard for? Like there was a lot of like trial and error testing out.
I would say it's if you notice, my deck doesn't have any unmovables. So that was So I was like, am I okay with compromising a little bit on the Guardian matchups? Because you know that those crush effects, and it's always going to be a dominated Spinal, a dominated Crippling, because those are really important to kill Brute turns, right? If I'm holding a Blood Rush and I see a dominated Crippling, it is the worst feeling in the world. Especially because it's a discard random, so I can't even choose to keep my Blood Rush. So but the choice came down to, look, I mean, I'm running 3 Sinks and 3 Fates, so like I felt like it was good enough. And I think our meta, we do have a number of Guardians. So you're looking at Mark Cockbin and the Wind Brothers also. One of them runs Oldhim. And I thought about it and I was like, I think it's worth taking the risk because Fate Foreseen, you can still use it in your ninja matchups. You cannot use unmovables literally anywhere else because it's terrible. Even in a Dory matchup, I would not like running unmovables because I don't necessarily have to pitch for it.
Yes, correct.
Yep.
So even with 18 blues. That's interesting.
It feels not that great because I still run into issues of quad red hands. Or quad yellow hands, and I'm just like,
don't we all?
No, I know that. Especially on drama.
That's true.
I like that.
Yep. And I think the one spicy tech is the sampan.
Yo, do
tell.
So
I completely forgot that was in there. Actually.
For everyone who doesn't know what a sampan is, in Malaysia, sampan in the Malay language is a rickety boat, wooden boat, and the cadaverous contraband is reminiscent of a sampan. So that's why we were like, oh, it's the boat tech.
Damn.
Why this card?
Okay. This card is specifically to target people, decks who don't want to block.
Yeah.
So specifically your Rune Blades
And the
ninjas, because I am threatening to take back
Blood
Rush Bellow, especially because I'm on claws when I'm playing on Rune Blades, right? So I finally make you think, oh god, do I really want to take another 5/5 at minimum? So like this card is very crucial to me in threatening you back.
Yeah.
So the other thing is also for ninjas or even guardians actually, it's threatening to take back barraging beatdown.
Yes.
Which is not bad as well because like I can still go for the intimidates and things like that.
I need to give you full credit on this one because I remember like not even talking about nationals, right? I think half a year ago, you and I were in a game and you played this out and people were like, oh no, why is she using that? And I remember someone said, oh, maybe she doesn't. I think you or someone said that. Oh, I don't have enough Command and Conquer, so I just need another 6.
Dude.
But I was like, no man, this card.
I was just about to say that because like when I started earlier on also with Lexi, like I noticed a lot of the decks they would slide in CNC. I didn't have CNC at the time, and finding this card was such a gem because I was like, oh, it is threatening because I can take back my 3 of a kind.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
so I put it in. I remember one of the armories. I put it out there, and they were like.
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
So leave it to you all to think of this kind of stuff. I remember seeing this card and I was like, sorry, what's the on hit of this? It's like you can put back a card on top. So Remembrance shuffles cards into it. That's a S card, right? So Tomorrow puts at the bottom, you have stuff like that. This one puts it on top.
Yeah.
And then the guy's like, why did you block that, bro? Just take it. I'm like, the next turn is a blood rush. Like guaranteed. I'm like, yo, man. So I love seeing this in the finals. I love that you brought this out with you. I don't know how many people actually play this globally because it's such a weird generic card. But man, the on hit. If this had a 3 block, this can't be like M, man.
Man.
I actually haven't seen it a lot.
Not much, right?
Yeah.
Not at all, actually. It's crazy.
Sampan.
Exactly.
No, LSS needs to give us like an alternate art Marvel for this one. When do you use this? So again, on the matchups that don't block, right?
Generally, I do side it in for most matchups because it still boosts my 6 counts. And the only ones that I take it off is when I need to block because it is a block tool.
Yeah.
And I am running quite a number of block tools because I have a number of pommels. So I take it out on matchups that I need to block. I will reduce the count, for example, when I'm playing ninjas because ninjas is alright. What's the one that I need to block? Dorinthia, sorry. Dorinthia, because there is nothing worse than holding 4 2 blocks in your hand and you're like, here's Dawnblade, naked Dawnblade for 3. I'm like,
that's a lie.
Sus.
Yeah. So Lexi, we're watching you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that mostly covers that package. But is there anything else you want to talk about in the aggro matchups?
In the aggro matchups, honestly, I think it's also one of my notes when I first started out playing games and we just like creating matchup notes. It was like, just claw, let's go, zoom. And that's literally the plan for Rune Blades. Like you just put in all your 6s and hope they come together. Before you see your first channel mount hero, you kind of want to push Briar down, maybe like the 20-30 regions. If you see Viserai, of course, I would ideally take you down to 20 life before you see your first or second Rebel in Runeblood. So it's watching for those key crucial threats and how much I can push you before you get to your really big kill turns.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically a race, right?
Yes, exactly.
At that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty scary.
Any tips or advice for people building their decks? Like, how do you think? What do you think would help them?
I think it's very important to decide what kind of play style, how you want to play your deck. Because the thing about the Brute Discord is nobody can agree on the single best way to play a deck because we all have different ideas. And it's great, right? Because they also give me ideas on like what's really good for my deck and what's not. So to me, it's about identifying like if you want to copy my deck, go ahead. But feel free to tweak it as you see, like, okay, this maybe wouldn't work in my meta for different reasons. So that's how I framed the way I deck tech. It's like, okay, I know I'm going to see a number of rune blades, so this is crucial. That all you got is worth the slots because there are going to be ninjas, because there are going to be rune blades. That's how I framed it. And for example, like tweaking to Cadaver's Contraband is I need the on hits. I need to incentivize people to block, and that's why I feel it's worth the slots. Yeah.
I mean, hats off to you on that one because, like what you mentioned earlier, right? Malaysia, the meta is just, what is it?
It's so wide.
Yes.
And so you have a risk of running into anyone, any hero, literally. So coming up with this deck, I think
we got a freaking Bolton in the mix.
it's crazy.
Like
Props to Ricky.
One Bolton.
the storekeeper. The best Bolton player in Malaysia because he's the only Bolton player in Malaysia.
Props for sticking to it.
Yeah, man. Just to end off the video, right? Rhinar's, like Ming Han has mentioned this before in other videos as well. Rhinar is a very interesting hero that sits almost like outside of any meta.
Yeah.
Because like we've seen the rise and fall of like the control, like Oldhim and Prism when we all started playing. I think Prism was such a dominant force. Chain came back, right? And then and then now we're seeing such a varied one. But with all the meta shifting in terms of how defensive and aggressive they've been, Rhinar has just kind of be like, I don't care what you're doing, I'll still do my thing, man. Right?
Actually, I like what I think I read this on the Brute Discord. I really like Rhinar is 50-50 into everything, honestly, because 100%. We have the tools to just even out what you thought was a winning game.
Yes.
Yeah, because like even one of my matches against it was a Kodachi Fi. I was down 5-14, and I could see the slow delve of blocking to death. I roll scabs and I take back tempo. I take back control. I drop her down to 1. This was Sutin, by the way, on Kodachi Fi. And then, boom, drawing into a reckless swing, end the game.
You're dead, man.
Oh, man.
It's like insane. Like
that's crazy. I love that. And is that why you like Rhinar so much?
Yes, because there are ways to claw back. You just need to see your hand. You need to think about, okay, what's the maximum damage I can do? Can I go for max intimidates? Or can I go for the reckless swing kill and hurt their soul?
And hurt their soul.
That hurt me right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, congratulations once again, Nitya. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Man, what's next for you? Are you going to be still on Rhino or maybe taking a holiday for a bit, trying out other things?
I want to try Icelander. Inspired by my game against Keith in the quarterfinals, man. But also, I just want to take a quick break from Rhino. I've been playing him for 8 months. So I would like to try a different deck.
Yeah,
See
I love
if
that.
I like it. Yeah.
That's so great. I think you've inspired a lot of the people there as well. All the people in the crowd, we were all very inspired by you and Mark because not just under a year, but also that you guys stuck your guns and played the same hero since day one. Yeah. There is power in consistency. No amount of like deck videos or like, fancy cards will get you what consistency gets you. Yeah. And I think you're the number one testimony of that, man.
Oh, thank
That's
you.
crazy.
Thank you.
Congratulations once again.
Thank you
Well
so
deserved, well earned. If you guys like this video, let us know. If you have any questions for Nitya, drop it in the comment section below and we'll get you'll get her to answer it as best as we can. Nitya doesn't believe in social media, so you just have to go through us and
you could reach out to me on Facebook or Discord.
Or Discord.
But that's probably easier.
That's also easier. Nitya's got a bunch of other videos coming out also on 1-2 Juice and some of the other creators around the world, so stay tuned to that one. It's been an amazing weekend for Malaysia.
Yes.
I think it was without a doubt. Not just the fact that you won on Rhino and someone who's never played a competitive game before. I think everyone did a great job. We see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Bye.